The emergency beacon cut through the void like a knife through silk, its desperate pulse reaching the outer sensor arrays of Titan Station 3 days after the massacre began. Communications officer Sarah had been monitoring deep space frequencies for 8 years, but she had never heard anything quite like this transmission. The signal carried an undertone of pure terror that made her hands shake as she adjusted the reception parameters. "Captain, you need to hear this," she called across the command center, her voice tight with concern. The distress call was coming from the 442 system, a region known for its peaceful mining colonies and agricultural settlements. What made Sarah's blood run cold wasn't just the desperation in the alien voice, but the fact that she could understand every word through the universal translator. Captain James approached Sarah's station with the measured stride of a man who had seen too much violence in his 43 years of service. His weathered face, marked by a scar that ran from his left temple to his jaw, showed no emotion as he listened to the translated message. The alien voice belonged to someone called Nine, a representative of the collective, and her words painted a picture of horror that even battle-hardened mind struggled to process. "Unknown vessels, this is Nine of the mining vessel Gentle Harvest. We are under attack by ships we do not recognize. They appeared without warning and began destroying everything in their path. Our defensive systems are useless against their weapons. They are not responding to any communication attempts. We have women and children aboard our ships. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. They are killing everyone they find." The transmission cut to static, then repeated from the beginning. Jaw tightened as he processed the implications. The collective was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most peaceful species ever encountered. They were herbivorous beings who had never engaged in warfare, preferring trade and diplomacy to solve conflicts. Their technology was advanced in terms of agriculture and medicine, but their defensive capabilities were virtually non-existent because they had never needed them. "How old is this signal?" asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer would make their response even more urgent. 3 days, sir. Given the distance and the time it took to reach us, whatever happened there is probably over by now," Sarah replied, her voice heavy with the weight of that realization. She had spent years listening to distress calls, but most of them came from human vessels or allied species. This was different. This was a cry for help from beings who had never known the brutality that humans accepted as a normal part of existence. Activated the station-wide communication system, his voice carrying to every corner of Titan Station. "All senior staff to the command center immediately. Priority Alpha. This is not a drill." Within minutes, the command center filled with the key personnel who made Titan Station one of the most formidable military installations in human space. Admiral Torres entered first, her silver hair pulled back in the regulation style that did nothing to soften her reputation as one of humanity's most ruthless military strategists. Behind her came Doctor, the station's chief of intelligence, whose cybernetic eye clicked and whirred as it processed data streams invisible to organic vision. Commander Lisa Park, head of special operations, moved with the predatory grace of someone who had personally eliminated more enemy targets than most soldiers saw in their entire careers. "Report," Admiral Torres commanded, taking her position at the central holographic display table. Activated the transmission, and they all listened in silence as Nine's desperate plea filled the room. When it ended, Torres stood motionless for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Doctor's cybernetic eye had gone completely dark, a sign that he was accessing classified databases at superhuman speed. "Analysis, Doctor," Torres said without looking away from the display that now showed the 442 system in three-dimensional detail. The system contained 6 planets, 3 of which were known to host colonies. Each colony represented hundreds of thousands of peaceful beings who had never harmed anyone. "The signal signature doesn't match any known technology in our databases," reported, his artificial eye flickering back to life. "However, the weapons signatures detected in the background suggest directed energy weapons with an output capability at least 3 times greater than our current military standard. Whoever did this has technology that could pose a significant threat to human space." Commander Park stepped forward, her tactical mind already working through the possibilities. "If they can slaughter this easily, they won't stop there. The system is only 12 light-years from the edge of human territory. If these attackers are expanding outward, we're likely in their path." Pulled up the star charts, highlighting the shipping routes that connected human space to the outer colonies. "They have been trading partners for 15 years. They supply medical compounds that have saved millions of human lives. More importantly, if we don't respond to this, every peaceful species in the galaxy will know that humanity ignores genocide when it's convenient. Admiral Torres finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of decision. Doctor, I want everything we have on potential hostile species in that sector. Commander Park, prep the Retribution and her battle group. We're going to investigate. She paused, her eyes scanning the faces of her senior staff. And if we find that someone massacred peaceful beings for no reason other than they could, we're going to show them why humans earned the nickname. The next 6 hours saw Titan Station transform into a hive of controlled chaos. The battleship Retribution, flagship of the Third Fleet, began loading supplies and ammunition while her crew ran final system checks. The ship was a testament to human military engineering, stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length and bristling with weapons systems designed to end conflicts quickly and decisively. Her hull bore the scars of a dozen major battles, each one a victory that had cost the enemy dearly. In the Special Operations briefing room, Commander Park addressed her hand-picked team of soldiers. These weren't ordinary military personnel. They were the product of humanity's violent evolution on a planet that had tried to kill them for millions of years. Each one had survived training that would have broken the minds and bodies of most other species. They were predators in the truest sense, shaped by a world where only the strongest and most adaptable survived. We don't know what we're going to find out there, Park told her team, her voice steady despite the anger burning in her eyes. But based on the evidence, we're looking at a species that commits genocide for sport. They never hurt anyone. They're essentially space farmers with advanced medical technology. If someone decided to wipe them out, it wasn't for resources or territory. It was because they enjoyed killing. Sergeant First Class David Reeves raised his hand, his augmented arm reflecting the briefing room lights. Rules of engagement, Commander? His question carried weight, because everyone in the room knew that Reeves had never left an enemy alive when civilians were involved. His last deployment had resulted in the complete elimination of a pirate fleet that had been taking slaves from mining colonies. We investigate first, Park replied, her smile lacking any warmth. We gather evidence, we try to establish contact, and if we confirm that these attackers are responsible for genocide. She paused, letting the implication hang in the air. Then we remind the galaxy why humans are the only species to evolve on a Class 12 death world and survive to reach the stars. The briefing continued for another hour, covering everything from potential alien technologies to backup extraction plans. But everyone in the room understood the real message. Humanity had spent centuries fighting its way off Earth, developing weapons and tactics that other species found disturbing. They had learned to kill efficiently because there had given them no choice. Now, for the first time since joining the galactic community, they might have a reason to show peaceful species what humans were really capable of. Doctor worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data they had about the unknown attackers. His cybernetic enhancements allowed him to process information at speeds that would overwhelm organic minds, but even with his advantages, the picture that emerged was troubling. The energy signatures suggested weapons that used principles unknown to current galactic science. The attack pattern indicated a level of tactical sophistication that ruled out pirates or raiders. They're not random killers, he reported to Admiral Torres as she reviewed the final mission briefings. This was organized, planned, and executed with military precision. Someone wanted the dead badly enough to deploy advanced technology and train personnel to make it happen. The question is why. Torres studied the data streams flowing across her personal display, her mind working through the strategic implications. Maybe the why doesn't matter as much as the how and the who. If there's a new player in this sector with technology that advanced, we need to know about it before they decide humans are their next target. The Retribution launched from Titan Station exactly 18 hours after the distress signal arrived, followed by the heavy cruiser Vengeance and the destroyer Prometheus. The 3 ships represented enough firepower to reduce a planet to rubble, but Admiral Torres wasn't taking chances. If the reports about enemy technology were accurate, they might need every advantage they could get. As the battle group entered hyperspace, Captain stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the stars stretch into lines of light. Beside him, Commander Park reviewed tactical displays while Doctor monitored long-range sensors for any sign of the mysterious attackers. Each of them understood that they were potentially heading into a conflict that would define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. Estimated arrival time? Tors asked from her command chair, her attention focused on the strategic display that showed their route through hyperspace. 47 hours, Admiral, reported the navigation officer. We'll drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the system and proceed on conventional drives to avoid detection. Tors nodded, satisfied with the approach. They would have one chance to gather intelligence before the enemy detected their presence. After that, it would depend on whether humanity's reputation as was earned through reputation or reality. The peaceful species of the galaxy were about to find out why humans were the only race to fight their way to the stars instead of being invited. The Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the 442 system like a predator emerging from tall grass. Admiral Tors had chosen their entry point carefully, positioning the battle group behind a cluster of asteroids that would mask their energy signatures while they conducted reconnaissance. What their sensors revealed in the first few minutes made even veteran officers struggle to maintain their composure. The colonies were gone, not damaged or captured, but completely obliterated down to the molecular level. Where 3 thriving worlds once supported hundreds of thousands of peaceful beings, only clouds of debris remained in their orbital paths. The destruction was so complete that it took enhanced analytical capabilities to identify what had once been cities, farms, and homes in the expanding fields of cosmic dust. Jesus Christ, whispered Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hayes, the ship's tactical officer, as she processed the sensor data. She had seen battle damage before, but nothing like this. The energy readings suggested that the attackers had used weapons specifically designed to break down matter at the atomic level. It wasn't just murder. It was erasure on a scale that comprehension. Commander Park stood behind Hayes, studying the tactical display with the cold focus of a professional soldier. Sterilization protocol, she said quietly. They didn't just want the dead. They wanted to remove every trace that they ever existed. Her augmented vision picked out details that others missed. The perfect spacing of debris fields, the complete absence of large structural remains, the methodical way the destruction had been carried out. Admiral Tors maintained her command position, but those who knew her well could see the barely controlled fury building behind her calm exterior. She had personally negotiated the first trade agreements with the collective 15 years ago. She remembered 9 from the diplomatic meetings, a gentle being whose greatest concern had been whether human agricultural techniques might harm the soil microorganisms on their worlds. The idea that someone had murdered her and her entire species for no apparent reason struck at the core of Tor's beliefs about justice and civilization. "Doctor, tell me you found something," Tors said, her voice carrying the weight of command and barely contained emotion. The good doctor had been running continuous scans since their arrival, his cybernetic systems processing data at rates that would burn out organic neural networks. "I have, Admiral, but you're not going to like it," replied, transferring his findings to the main display. "The weapon signatures are unlike anything in our databases, but I've detected residual energy patterns that suggest the attackers are still in the system. They're hiding in the shadow of the gas giant, approximately 6 astronomical units from our current position." The main display shifted to show the gas giant 442C, a massive world surrounded by a complex ring system that would provide excellent cover for vessels trying to avoid detection. Sanalysis indicated at least 12 ships of unknown configuration, their energy signatures suggesting technology that operated on principles human science didn't fully understand. "They're still here," Commander Park observed, her tactical mind immediately grasping the implications. 3 days after the massacre, and they haven't left the system. Either they're waiting for something, or this was just the first phase of a larger operation. She paused, considering the possibilities. Could be they're planning to expand their attacks to other systems. Admiral Tors studied the sensor data, her strategic training weighing options and consequences. Every instinct she had developed over 30 years of military service told her that leaving these attackers alive would be a mistake that humanity would pay for dearly. But engaging an unknown enemy with superior technology required careful planning and flawless execution. "Commander Park, I want your assault teams ready for immediate deployment. Doctor, continue monitoring their energy signatures and try to determine their capabilities. Captain, take us in on a stealth approach. We're going to get close enough to gather detailed intelligence before we make our presence known." The Retribution began its careful approach to the gas giant, using the system's natural gravitational fields and radiation zones to mask their movement. The ship's stealth systems, originally designed for operations against human enemies, proved effective against the unknown attacker's sensors. As they drew closer, the true scope of their enemy became clear. The ships hiding in the gas giant's shadow were massive, each one easily 3 times the size of the Retribution. Their hull designs followed no pattern found in galactic databases, featuring organic curves and surfaces that seemed to shift and flow like living tissue. Energy readings suggested that the ships were powered by some form of controlled dark matter reaction, a technology that existed only in theoretical papers in human research facilities. Doctor reported, his analysis growing more detailed as their sensor resolution improved. The ships appear to be partially alive, with hull materials that can adapt and regenerate. The weapons systems are integrated into the biological matrix, making them essentially living warships. Commander Park felt a chill run down her spine as she processed the implications. Living ships mean living crew, and any species that can grow their warships instead of building them has been thinking about warfare on a completely different level than the rest of us. She turned to Admiral Torres. Permission to launch reconnaissance drones for closer inspection. Torres replied immediately. If those ships are as advanced as they appear, they'll detect our drones and know we're here. We need to maintain the element of surprise. She paused, studying the tactical display. Doctor, can you determine their communication frequencies? Already working on it? Confirmed, his cybernetic eye flickering rapidly as he processed electromagnetic signatures. They're using quantum entanglement communication, but I'm detecting encrypted burst transmissions on standard frequencies. They might be reporting to command units outside the system. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. If these attackers were part of a larger force, the genocide of them might be just the beginning of a campaign that could threaten every peaceful species in the galaxy. Torres found herself facing a decision that would define humanity's role in galactic affairs. Engage an unknown enemy with superior technology to prevent further massacres, or withdraw and warn the galactic community about a threat they might not be able to stop. Admiral, Doctor said suddenly, his voice tight with urgency. I'm detecting movement. 3 of their ships are beginning to leave the gas giant's shadow. Energy signatures suggest they're preparing to enter hyperspace. Torres didn't hesitate. All ships battle stations. Target the vessels attempting to escape. We cannot allow them to report our presence to their command structure. The decision crystallized in her mind with the clarity that only came in moments of absolute certainty. If they're planning to expand their genocide campaign, it ends here. The Retribution's weapon systems came online with a series of deep vibrations that ran through the ship's hull. The heavy cruiser Vengeance and destroyer Prometheus moved into flanking positions, their own weapons charging as they prepared to engage an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. On the surface, it appeared to be a hopeless mismatch. 3 human ships against 12 alien vessels with superior technology. But Admiral Torres understood something that the attackers had apparently never considered. Humans were the only species to evolve on a world that actively tried to kill them every single day. They had developed weapons and tactics not just for warfare, but for survival against impossible odds. More importantly, they had learned to fight with a level of calculated fury that other species found disturbing. Open channel to all ships, Torres commanded. When the communication links were established, she addressed her battle group with the voice of someone who had never lost a fight when the stakes really mattered. We are about to engage an enemy that has committed genocide against peaceful beings. They have technology we don't understand and numerical superiority we can't match. But they made one critical error in their calculations. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. They assumed that because the galaxy is full of peaceful species, everyone would respond to their attacks with fear. They never considered that humans didn't become peaceful by choice. We became peaceful because we got tired of killing everything that threatened us. Today, we remind them why Earth is the only planet in known space that requires a Class 12 death world warning. The first shots came from the alien vessels as their sensors finally detected the approaching human ships. Beams of coherent dark matter lashed out across space, striking the Retribution's shields with enough force to drain 30% of their defensive power in the first volley. The alien weapons operated on principles that made them nearly impossible to defend against using conventional shield technology. Shields at 70%, reported the tactical officer, but her voice remained steady despite the obvious disparity in firepower. Enemy vessels are beginning to surround us. Recommend evasive maneuvers. Negative, Admiral Torres replied, her voice carrying absolute authority. Doctor, transfer all tactical data to the weapon systems. I want every shot to count. She activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the Admiral. We are engaging a superior enemy to prevent the genocide of innocent beings. Remember your training, trust your shipmates, and show these bastards why humans are called. The Retribution's response demonstrated why human military technology had developed along different lines than that of other species. While most galactic civilizations focused on defensive systems and precision targeting, humans had concentrated on creating weapons that could deliver overwhelming destructive force in the shortest possible time. The ship's main batteries opened fire with a coordinated barrage that lit up space with enough energy to power a small city. Human plasma cannons fired streams of superheated matter at appreciable fractions of light speed, while missile systems launched fusion warheads designed to create localized nuclear explosions. The alien ship's living hulls proved surprisingly resilient, absorbing damage that would have crippled conventional vessels, but they had never encountered weapons designed by a species that had spent perfecting the art of killing. Direct hit on target Alpha, reported the weapons officer as one of the alien ships staggered under the concentrated fire. Hull integrity appears compromised, but the vessel is still operational. The alien ship's living hull was already beginning to regenerate, sealing the damage with disturbing efficiency. Commander Park activated her personal communication link to the special operations teams positioned throughout the ship. All teams, prepare for boarding operations. If their hulls can regenerate, we need to take their command centers directly. Her smile was the expression of a predator who had just identified the weak spot in her prey's defenses. The battle continued with increasing intensity as both sides adapted their tactics to the enemy's capabilities. The alien ships used their superior maneuverability and regenerative abilities to absorb damage while concentrating their fire on individual human vessels. But they had never faced an enemy that treated warfare as a science and killing as an art form perfected through millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Admiral Torres watched the tactical display with the calm focus of someone who had commanded ships through the worst conflicts humanity had ever faced. The aliens were winning by conventional measures, but they were also learning why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous species. Every shot from the human ships was calculated to cause maximum damage, every maneuver designed to create opportunities for devastating counterattacks. Doctor, status on their communication systems, Torres demanded as the Vengeance took heavy damage from concentrated alien fire. The heavy cruiser's shields were failing, but her weapons remained operational, and her crew continued to fight with the stubborn determination that had carried humanity from the caves of Earth to the stars. Quantum communication array is still active, reported, his artificial eye glowing as he processed streams of tactical data. But I've detected a weakness in their formation. If we can disable the command vessel, the others might lose coordination. Torres studied the battle display, identifying the ship that had targeted. It was larger than the others and positioned at the center of their formation, its energy signature suggesting that it was directing the attack. Taking it out would require a coordinated assault that would expose the Retribution to devastating counterfire. All ships target the command vessel. Full power to weapons, maximum rate of fire. We end this now, Torres commanded, knowing that she was gambling everything on a single decisive strike. The alien ships responded by concentrating their fire on the Retribution, their dark matter weapons carving deep into the flagship's hull. But humans had learned something during their violent climb from Earth's surface to the galactic community. Sometimes, the only way to stop a monster was to become something worse. The Retribution's final barrage contained enough destructive force to sterilize a continent, and every shot was aimed at the alien command vessel with the precision that only came from centuries of practicing the art of war. The alien commander ship exploded in a cascade of dark energy that sent shockwaves through the gas giant's rings. Without their central coordination, the remaining vessels began to fall back, their attacks becoming disorganized and ineffective. Admiral Torres had been right about their weakness. They had never faced an enemy willing to accept any level of damage to achieve victory. The destruction of the alien command vessel created a moment of chaos that Admiral Torres exploited with the ruthless efficiency that had made her humanity's most feared naval commander. The remaining 11 ships were already beginning to retreat toward the edge of the system, their formation broken and their coordination shattered. But Torres had no intention of letting a single one of them escape to carry word of humanity's capabilities back to whatever genocidal empire had sent them. "All ships pursue and destroy," she ordered, her voice carrying across the communication channels with absolute authority. "Doctor, I want constant monitoring of their communication attempts. Commander Park, prepare boarding teams. We need intelligence on who sent them and what they're planning next." The chase that followed would be remembered by military historians as one of the most decisive engagements in galactic warfare. The alien ships possessed superior technology and faster-than-light capabilities that should have allowed them to escape easily. But they had made the fundamental error of underestimating an enemy that had spent millions of years learning to hunt in packs. Captain coordinated the pursuit from the Retribution's bridge, using gravitational fields and radiation zones to channel the fleeing aliens into carefully prepared kill zones. The heavy cruiser Vengeance, despite her damaged shields and hull breaches, maintained formation and continued to pour devastating fire into any enemy vessel that came within range. The destroyer Prometheus used her superior maneuverability to cut off escape routes, forcing the aliens into direct confrontations with the larger human ships. "Target acquired," reported Lieutenant Commander Hayes as her targeting systems locked onto one of the fleeing vessels. "Enemy ship is attempting to reach hyperspace jump distance, firing full spread." The Retribution's missile batteries launched a coordinated barrage that caught the alien ship just as it began to accelerate toward escape velocity. The alien vessel's living hull absorbed the first wave of impacts, its regenerative systems working desperately to repair the damage. But human weapons designers had spent centuries developing ordnance specifically designed to overwhelm defensive systems through sheer destructive volume. The second and third waves of missiles found weakened sections of hull and detonated their fusion warheads in carefully coordinated sequence. Commander Park watched the tactical display with professional satisfaction as the alien ship's hull began to fail catastrophically. "That's the third one down," she reported to Admiral Torres. 8 remaining and their formation is completely broken. They're running scared." "Scared doesn't begin to cover it," Doctor observed, his cybernetic systems analyzing the electromagnetic emissions from the fleeing ships. "Their communication traffic has increased by 400%. They're broadcasting on every available frequency, trying to warn their command structure about humanity's capabilities." Torres felt a cold smile cross her face. "Too late for warnings. We should have been their first concern before they decided to commit genocide." She activated the general communication system. "All ships, priority target any vessel attempting to establish hyperspace communications. We cannot allow them to warn their masters that humans have entered this conflict." The next phase of the battle demonstrated why human military doctrine emphasized speed and overwhelming force over technological superiority. While the alien ships possessed advanced regenerative capabilities and energy weapons that operated on unknown principles, they had never faced an enemy that approached warfare with the single-minded determination of apex predators. The Retribution caught the next alien ship as it tried to use the gas giant's gravitational field to accelerate toward hyperspace jump distance. Captain brought his flagship in close enough to use the ship's point defense systems, battering the alien vessel with continuous streams of plasma fire that prevented its hull from regenerating effectively. "Hull breach detected," reported the tactical officer as the alien ship's defenses finally failed. "They're venting atmosphere and biological matter." The image on the main display showed streams of organic fluid pouring from the wounded vessel, confirming Doctor's analysis that the ships were indeed partially alive. "Commander Park, prepare boarding party Delta," Torres ordered. "We need prisoners for interrogation. I want to know who these creatures are and what they want." She paused, considering the tactical situation. "And if they're part of a larger force planning to expand their genocide campaign, I need to know where they're based." The boarding operation that followed would become required study material at human military academies for generations. Commander Park led her team of augmented soldiers through the alien ship's corridors, adapting their tactics in real time to environments that conventional understanding. The ship's interior was a maze of organic passages that shifted and changed as they moved through them, forcing the human soldiers to rely on instincts honed through years of fighting in hostile environments. "Contact front," reported Sergeant Reeves as his augmented senses detected movement in the shifting corridors ahead. The alien crew they encountered were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Tall, creatures with chitinous exoskeletons and multiple limbs that ended in weapons that appeared to be grown rather than manufactured. The firefight that erupted in the alien ship's command center lasted less than 3 minutes, but it provided crucial intelligence about humanity's new enemy. The aliens fought with tactical coordination and advanced personal weapons, but they had never encountered soldiers who had been designed from birth to be the ultimate predators. Commander Park's team moved through the organic corridors with the fluid efficiency of pack hunters, using their augmented capabilities and superior training to eliminate resistance with surgical precision. "Command center secured," Park reported as her team subdued the surviving alien officers. "We have 3 prisoners and access to their data systems. Doctor is going to want to see this." She transmitted the initial intelligence directly to the Retribution's Analysis Center, where cybernetic systems began processing alien data structures in real time. What they discovered in the alien ship's memory banks changed everything about humanity's understanding of their place in the galaxy. The creatures called themselves the Devourers, and they were not native to known space. They had arrived from outside the galactic rim 3 months ago, following scout reports about the abundance of peaceful civilizations that could be harvested without significant resistance. "They're not conquerors," Doctor reported to Admiral Torres as he processed the alien data. "They're farmers. They weren't their enemies, they were crops. The Devourers travel between galaxies, identifying peaceful species and harvesting them for biological materials that they use to grow their ships and weapons." Torres felt her blood run cold as the full implications became clear. "How many species have they already harvested?" she asked, though she suspected the answer would be worse than anything she could imagine. "According to their records, they've completely eliminated 17 civilizations since arriving in our galaxy," replied, his artificial eye flickering as it processed streams of disturbing data. "They were just the latest. They have target lists that include every peaceful species within 50 light-years of galactic center." Commander Park's voice came through the communication system from the captured alien ship. "Admiral, you need to hear this. The prisoners are talking, and what they're saying changes everything." She paused, her tone carrying an undertone of barely controlled fury. "They think humans are just another peaceful species. They were planning to harvest our colonies next week." The silence that followed lasted exactly 4 seconds before Admiral Torres activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the Admiral. We have just learned that the enemy responsible for the genocide of those was planning to attack human colonies within days. They made the mistake of assuming that we are as peaceful as the species they've been massacring." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "We are going to correct that assumption. Doctor, I want everything we can extract from their databases about their command structure and base locations. Commander Park, interrogate those prisoners. I want to know exactly how many of these creatures we're dealing with and where we can find them." The interrogation of the captured Devourers provided intelligence that would reshape galactic military strategy for decades to come. The aliens were part of an advanced scouting force sent ahead of a much larger fleet that was currently located in the void between galaxies. Their mission was to identify suitable target species and establish harvesting operations that would prepare the way for the main invasion force. They've been operating under the assumption that no species in this galaxy possesses significant military capabilities, Commander Park reported after hours of intensive questioning. Their entire strategy is based on overwhelming peaceful civilizations with superior technology. They've never encountered organized resistance. Doctor processed the captured data with growing excitement as he uncovered details about Devourer technology and tactics. Their weapons and ships are grown using biological materials harvested from conquered species, he reported to the senior staff. It's an incredibly efficient system, but it has a critical weakness. Without a continuous supply of biological matter, they cannot replace losses or expand their forces. Admiral Torres studied the tactical projections on her personal display, her strategic mind working through the possibilities. "How long before their main fleet arrives?" she asked, knowing that the answer would determine humanity's response to this threat. According to the prisoners, approximately 6 months, Park replied. They were supposed to have cleared out at least 12 star systems by then, providing biological materials for the invasion fleet. The loss of their scouting force is going to disrupt their timeline significantly. Tors nodded, her decision crystallizing with the clarity that only came when facing an existential threat. Doctor, I want you to prepare a complete intelligence package for transmission to Earth Command. Include everything we've learned about Devourer technology, tactics, and numbers. Commander Park, begin preparing detailed assault plans based on the base locations we've identified. The final phase of the engagement demonstrated why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous species. Rather than simply destroying the remaining Devourer ships, Admiral Tors ordered her forces to capture as many as possible for detailed technical analysis. The operation required precision tactics that pushed human military capabilities to their limits, but it provided invaluable intelligence about enemy technology and intentions. Last ship secured, reported Captain as the final Devourer vessel was brought under human control. Total casualties: 4 enemy ships destroyed, 8 captured, 0 survivors among their crews except for the prisoners we took from the command vessel. He paused, reviewing the damage reports. Our losses: minimal hull damage to all 3 ships, no fatalities among human personnel. Doctor worked through the night processing data from the captured ships, his cybernetic enhancements allowing him to analyze alien technology at speeds that would overwhelm organic minds. What he discovered would revolutionize human understanding of advanced warfare and provide the technological foundation for humanity's response to the coming invasion. Their biological technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also predictable, he reported to Admiral Tors as she reviewed the final battle assessments. Once we understand the principles behind their regenerative systems and energy weapons, we can develop countermeasures that will make their technological advantages irrelevant. Tors stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking out at the debris fields where the colonies had once thrived. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. In 6 months, the Devourer invasion fleet would arrive expecting to find a galaxy full of helpless prey species ready for harvest. Instead, they would discover that they had awakened something that had spent millions of years learning to hunt. Set course for Earth, she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of absolute determination. It's time to remind the galaxy why humans are the only species to fight their way to the stars instead of being invited. She paused, considering the implications of everything they had learned. And when the Devourers arrive, they're going to learn why every peaceful species in the galaxy calls us. The transmission that Admiral Tors sent to Earth Command would trigger the largest military mobilization in human history. But more importantly, it would mark the beginning of humanity's role as the galaxy's protectors against threats that peaceful civilizations could never hope to face alone. The age of human military restraint was over, and the Devourers were about to learn why that was very bad news for anyone who threatened innocent beings.